Welcome back to another brand spanking new episode of The Order of the Blazing Horse. The only Detroit Pistons podcast based on a mystical prophecy. I am one of those prophets touched by a horse in a very appropriate third eye kind of way out here in Ypsilanti. Harry Morrow's giant as always by my co-host with the most out on the West Coast.
Oh, Danish Pistons podcast. Yeah. Mickey Jacobs here. If you're just joining us at episode 81 for some reason, Hooper came to us after the Pistons' terrible 28-loss streak season, told us that the only way for them to get better again was if we started a podcast. We did. The Pistons are better. Is that the reason? You decide. We can't say for sure, but that's what we're doing here. We have fun. We talk hoops. We goof around. We play games. We have guests, but not today. Today, it's just Harry and Mickey.
The guest list is guestless.
There we go.
Yeah.
So bear with us. But we're here to talk about a couple developments or a couple. The Pistons they've dropped a couple.
They've
dropped a couple games.
And they've dropped in all the power rankings. Power rankings saw the Pistons dropping, and they were just like rubbing their mitts together, like, "Oh yeah, let's get these non-contenders out of that top spot."
Lose it all, and you're a scrub, dude. You're not even.
What, you lost to the hottest team in the NBA and the second hottest team in the NBA? Peace.
Who do you think you are?
I am. Anniversary is a couple of days ago.
P. Weber,
yeah,
the GOAT.
Shout out. The Pistons have dropped a couple, and they've had some like kind of closer wins than I think we would care for them to have. And also, I want to point out, like, I'm sorry if I mess up stuff today. I'm usually Danis pilled. Today, I'm Dayquil pilled. I'm recovering, and it's something, dude. It's something.
He's on the mend.
I am on the mend. The Pistons also on the mend. They finally got Beef Stew back, and they finally lose a game. This is their second time all season losing to a team twice in the season, and that was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Escaped that last one, going to overtime with Dennis Jenkins. Dennis Jenkins hitting those free throws, getting that 3-point shot off at the very end. No such luck on this one, although they did make it close, and they actually did have a similar Asar steal at the end. So let's just talk about that team as a whole. Right now, sir, this is a Wendy's indeed. Ampersand in the chat. Shout out Ampersand.
Ampersand, good to have you, friend.
Number one. So, Mickey, from these games in recent history, what have you liked? Also, can we give a quick shout out before that to Cade Cunningham being the only player to receive Conference Player of the Month twice in a season? That's 2 out of 4 months. That's half the season this dude's been Conference Player of the Month. And Jalen Duren, Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Pretty sick stuff.
It's good stuff, but not good enough, apparently. Yeah, Cade's been great. Duren's been great, especially, we just got Beef Stew back, but before we got Beef Stew, Duren had stepped up in a major way. There we go. I can see Ampersand. I can see everybody now. Thank you. We've had some really good play from Duren. I think Asar has also been phenomenal. I mean, Cade's been great too, but I just feel like, it goes without saying, like Cade's the guy. And, even when the efficiency suffers, the facilitation just kicks up a notch.
Can I say something real quick about both those things? One, about the defense. Cade had a real case for Defensive Player of the Month this month as well, because Derek White won it with 1.7 blocks a game, which is great. Cade had 1.5 blocks a game and averaged twice as many steals per game as Derek White did. So just saying, also Asar had 1.1 blocks per game and 2.3 steals per game. So both those guys had more stocks than Derek White did. I'm not saying that either one of them should have won it. I think just though that there could have been a case for a third consecutive and different Pistons player to win Eastern Conference Defensive Player of the Month, which is crazy. And then when it comes to the efficiency stuff, one thing about Cade is, like, he hasn't had a whistle his entire career. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, super fair. As highlighted in the GQ spread.
Right. Yeah. He made a point of saying it.
Yeah.
Over his last 7 games, he's averaging fewer than 4 free throw attempts per game. Right? That's pretty poor.
Pretty sure he's still driving as much as anybody in the league. So
yeah, top 5. He's a top 5 driver in the league. Top 4 if you do a minimum of 40 games played. The guys he's behind are Shea, Jaylen Brown, and Denny Avdia. He's averaging fewer free throws than all of them, especially recently. Recently, he's averaging about half as many as all of them. So when we're talking about like offensive efficiency, yeah, Shea shoots a higher field goal percentage, and yeah, Shea gets more free throws. Those two things are hand in hand because a lot of the shot misses that Cade has at the rim are shots he's got contact on, but he's not getting the free throw for. So let's say he's getting the like 9+ free throws per game that Shea's getting. So that's like at least one, like a shot and a half more per game at the free throw line. That doesn't go against him as a shot missed. Add another 2 points to that. Not only does his score goes up, but his shooting percentage goes up. That's added efficiency. So I think if you're going to talk about him not being an efficient shot maker, you have to bring up the fact that he's not getting these foul calls on top of it. That's in defense of Cade homerism take. We'll get more into the whole flopping thing later. That will be a point of interest. But Mickey, as you were, I'm sorry to have
No, no, you make a great point. And I was talking to some other people too about just like the MVP conversation, because I just find it annoying that it's such a by default. That's the narrative with Cade in the MVP conversation in the league at large, is that it's just because Shea and Jokic are in danger of missing the game requirements. And then it's like, okay, well, I guess by default, Cade is like the next top guy. And it's just really unfortunate. And I don't think, but to your point, offensive efficiency is something that people care a lot about. And that's why, Ant and Brown are kind of right up there with Cade, at least in sort of the Hoop Collective national conversation. They've given Cade love, but yeah, it's really weird too, because one of the reasons why they say, not Hoop Collective specifically, but why people say Cade doesn't get as much of a whistle is because of his size. Jaylen Brown's big too.
He doesn't get a great whistle either, though. To be fair, like
yeah,
those two both deserve way more of a whistle.
Yeah,
and I get it because of the size, but Luke is bigger and he gets the best whistle in the game.
Yeah, I also think, and this is, disagree with me if you want, but I think the way that the roster is constructed, Cade has help, but he doesn't have help in terms of creation. So there's just so much more pressure on him. I think the strategy, unfortunately, from last year to this year has been stop Cade, stop the Pistons.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a pretty good game plan. And when Cade goes, 5 for 16 or whatever, we're probably going to lose the game.
How about 5 for 25 against San Antonio?
Yeah. Yep.
Those 2 games, you got to break that barrier in order for it to go well. And in both those games, they didn't lose by that much, which is like
right,
so crazy.
right. But it's team cannot win on defense alone. And
Right.
I love the lean into our identity. I love that, and Detroit and Cade in particular, it seems like are always going to have a connotation in the league, and refs aren't going to give them the whistles they give the other stars. Oh, we got Richard DM for it. What's going on with the perimeter defense? The perimeter defense has been a problem, man. We were talking about this off pod. Guarding the 3-point line was a really big issue for us last year, and it sort of seemed like our rotations were tighter this year. It's been really bad lately.
In our last 3 losses, they've given up 18 3-pointers, 18 3-pointers, 17 3-pointers.
Yeah, and what I don't like is when people say, "Oh, well, that team's not going to shoot that hot on like they just couldn't miss." So they couldn't miss because they're getting wide open looks in the corner. Jalen Tyson is one of the best shooters in the league. That's got to be on the scouting report. That's got Sam Merrill. The Devin Vassell is 39 on the year. He's their best shooter. It's frustrating, and I think that's if you're going to hang your hat on your defense and you're going to miss a lot of shots, that's something that you're going to want to shore up. I think paint protection is not enough.
Mm-hmm. Ampersand says, and it gets worse when JB pulls Asar when he needs extra offense. I don't think that's why he pulled Asar, and I think Asar, like his comments after the game, said as much about it, or like just before the Cleveland game, he said he wasn't playing up to his his level defensively. And
this was in the Spurs game.
This is in the Spurs game.
Yeah.
And like he did miss stuff, and yes, his offense, his defense does add to offense. I let's touch on Asar here right now because he's been like absolutely sensational as of late, kind of like all season. But like a thing that I heard, I can't remember who was saying this. This is going to frustrate me a little bit. Oh, now I think I remember. I think it was on the Dunker Spot podcast. They were talking about Asar a little bit, and Asar compared to Amen Thompson, what the difference is, and it was complimentary of Asar, which is great. is that Asar, a word I didn't hear that one here. I don't know which one that was, but what the deal with Asar is they don't just like when he gets the ball, you don't know what's going to happen. It's not like just one thing. Like with Amen, you know both those guys aren't going to shoot the three, but with Amen, it's like okay, this guy's going to drive, so you like sag off a little bit. So it seems like he's been not solved, but there you know what to expect when he's got it. With Asar, he could be slashing, he could be passing it out. You don't know what's going to happen. And Asar's cutting has been like phenomenal
Really
lately,
good.
like really exceptional. And the finishing at the rim, I think, has been pretty darn good as a whole. I believe over his last 4 games, he's averaging something like 14, 7, 5, 3, and 2 with points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Like he's just absolutely. Oh, that's what I was about to talk about the benching. And that was like his one bad defensive game. And in the game against Cleveland the first time, they wouldn't be there without his defense in the final minutes. In the final minutes of the last game that they lost to Cleveland, he still got a clutch steal that made it like a game that mattered. And I have a feeling that this game against San Antonio, he's going to pop off. I don't think Asar is an offensive liability anymore at this point. On the real, he's scoring more efficiently than some of the players on this team that we'll also talk about in a second, who are supposed to be your scorers. And that should be more concerning for them than it is about Asar's offense. Asar's defense is so phenomenal that he to me is like he's an untradeable player. He's a player that every team in the league should want to have. And yeah, he can't shoot the three, but like, so what? That's truly a so what to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good to see Asar gaining confidence. And I think especially when Cade and Duran attract position, whether it's in a post up, he's getting better about when to cut. And you know, the breakaway stuff, the one-on-one stuff is still developing. But I think the assist to turnover ratio has been really good too, which is nice to see because we need other guys who can pass the ball besides Cade, Duran to some degree. But yeah, some of the other guys have taken a little bit of a dip in that department. Danis hasn't. By the way, is it Danis? Is it Danis?
We're going with Danis. We got a report earlier in the year that his mom told George and Greg that it was Danis. So it's Danis. I just think that we slip back into it a little bit.
Well, I thought, yeah, okay. We're sticking with Danis. We're going with it.
He hasn't scored double digits in a minute. I feel like it's been a month. At this point, it's been a month since he scored double digits. I do want to say this about Danis, though. It doesn't stop him from being clutch when it matters.
He's like, really clutch, and he plays hard still. It just seems like does it seem like a processing thing or a decision-making thing? Just because sometimes I feel like he doesn't know whether he wants to be a score first guy or a pass first guy, but we're going with Danis. We're going with thank you, Michael. Yep. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster. And that's not the only player with whom it's been a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah,
we have to eat our words from last week a little bit.
A little bit.
We have to raise the hand here.
Well, first I want to raise the hand and say I solemnly swear that I will like.
Hey, I saw it coming. Did you? No. Did you guys?
Notifications to Order of the Blazing Horse. If you're listening, then you're sticking that's Order of the Blazing Horse. So thanks for joining and thanks for subscribing to the show. Please tell your friends. We got a little subscriber goal that we're trying to get up to here, 300. We're doing a pretty good job getting there. But when it comes to like what we're talking about here, as far as like a player that we were shouting out, most of Pistons fandom, like the fan base, really laments the Caris LeVert signing and the Caris LeVert minutes. I would venture. There's a lot of discussion about it all the time, and it's usually negative. There's some accounts out there, I won't mention by name, that are incredibly harsh on Caris. And I didn't think he'd been that bad. Like I think the defense has been like fine. He's good size, and it's not like I don't feel too bad about a guy who's like ninth as far as like role on this team goes. But then looking more into the stats and thinking more about like what his specific role is on that second unit, he's like one of 2 guys that you expect to be scoring the ball and like shooting the ball, and he's not taking shots. at all. In fact, he's taking so few shots that since December 17th, 16th of last year, like 2025, so for the last 23 games, he's only scored in double figures twice. And those games were against Indiana, where he scored 10, and against Utah, where he scored 11. I was telling Mickey this earlier today. He's only scored 14, like more than 14 points uh twice all season, and he's only scored more than 11 points 6 times all season. This guy was supposed to be the scorer on the second unit, and that is not enough to get from this man. And lately, it has been brutal, dude. In that span of 23 games, he shot 15 out of 62 from three. Is that the number I gave you earlier?
Yeah, it's really nasty. And here's my concern. And by the way, the defense isn't terrible. He gets deflections, he gets blocks, he gets steals, and sometimes every 4 games or so he gets hot. Not volume scorer hot, but
Three shots
efficient, 3 out of 5,
Mm-hmm.
4 out of 7, from the field or whatever it is. The turnovers are really a problem it's one of my biggest basketball pet peeves, and it's something that a guy who's supposed to be able to create shouldn't be turning the ball over that much. Not that I expect him to be the backup point guard, although JB more or less alluded to that at the beginning of the season, that he's just that versatile. And yeah, 10 points hot. Exactly. It's lukewarm. He gets lukewarm every 4 games. Here's my concern, and I am and this podcast is very pro JB Bickerstaff. This is a very pro JB pod. I don't see, except for leading up to the deadline when he sat for 5 or so games and it really seemed like he was going to get moved. It doesn't seem like JB is changing up the strategy. Let's go through just sort of the minutes breakdown he's gotten. I'll just start in 2026. January, 17.5 minutes. February, 18, almost 19 minutes. March, it's only been 2 games, but it's been, over 16 minutes. So, and here's one thing I will say for Caris that people have said outside of the Pistons world is, John Showman said this. I have friends who are support other teams say this. He's a rhythm player. He needs minutes to get hot. Like, he needs to get going. It just doesn't seem like he has a longer leash than some other players, and it gives me concern because the less I see of Caris, the better these days for me. And I just don't know if JB's going to change up the tactics here, because I'm at a point now where I would rather see those minutes distributed among Asar, Ron, Danis, and Javonte. I think Javante's been really good for us, and I know they're not exactly the same kind of player, but he is a 3-and-D guy, and even though he doesn't necessarily create his own shot, he's really good around the rim. He's a good play finisher, and he just makes things happen in a way that and he still sometimes turns over the ball, but not like Caris. Caris has had a really bad hold on, I just want to look up his assist. Yeah, go ahead. I've been rambling.
It's over like his last let's call it 9 or 10 games, assist to turnover ratio. So 1-to-1, 1-to-1, 3-to-1. That's not bad. 2-to-2, 1-to-4, 0-to-2, 2-to-2, 3-to-3. That's bad. Like,
really bad.
I know we're not talking about like an insane amount of turnovers, but games when he's got 2, 3, 4, and that's a lot piling up lately. A lot of threes, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2. That's too many for a second unit player. Who's not giving out that many assists. It's too much. And I get that he's like one of the last guys to come in, but when we think about like the context of what's happening in the second unit, and I know Stu's been out and Stu does get like points, but not like a ton of points unless he's like starting. You need a guy who can score. And while Danis hasn't been scoring, Danis still has pulled up clutch moments, and he's a better ball handler and a better penetrator, just like straight up. And he can get more assists. And you expect him to be there. Plus, Danis offers more from that position, even though he's not scoring at the same amount. He also hasn't had as bad a drought as Caris has had as far as the double digits go. It's just It's just rough. When it comes to Caris, he's got to be scoring. But if he's not, then it's super rough. Like he should be firmly behind Javonte Green as far as it goes. I think if you're going to tighten up the rotation, it's got to be Danis, Ron, Javonte, Stu in that back nine if you want to play nine. But even in that scenario, who's scoring on that back unit? You know, like it's tough if you put Duncan in there. Okay, maybe, but then you still got to feed him the three. You still got to be able to get open. And in that unit, everyone knows that Duncan is the one guy who can score, so they're going to swarm on him like they don't typically do. I personally, especially in this month when you've got a lot of games against Brooklyn and Washington and like these tanking teams, give some run to Sasser, dude. Just see what Sasser can do. I know he didn't have a great game at the end of last game, but I think he's had plenty of great games this season. I want to see him score. People want to see more of Kevin Huerter in there. From what I've seen from Kevin Huerter, like I said in the last show that we talked about him, I've been calling him Marble Red because he's been smoking shots like from three. People talk about the three like he's a theoretical shooter. That hasn't been the case in almost 2 years at this point. And it wasn't the case in the last time he played the playoffs. And if that shot doesn't come back, I get that he's like fine from like two, but like in the minutes that he's played with Detroit, Nikki, have you been impressed with him at all?
No, and there's been a lot of fouling. You know, that I've just noticed him pick up 3 fouls in a quarter and be like, all right, I guess the Kevin Huerter experience is over. And it just doesn't seem like there's any effort to integrate him into the roster, really. And maybe that's based on what's going on in practice. Maybe that's just out of respect to some of the other guys. But I don't know. I was hoping that he at least would be a playable piece, even if he wasn't uh, sinking shots from deep. Maybe his gravity would create opportunity for other people. And also, maybe he'd be good in the mid range and around the rim. And at least his size, you know, he's 6'6" or so. Um, Michael brings up a point talking about how if you pull Caris, you have to put in Sasser. Um, I would argue that even more of those minutes going to Asar, unless you're just worried about him getting into foul trouble. Asar's assist to turnover ratio has been really good.
But
That's sort of what I mean.
he's not a scorer though. Like I mean, he can score, but then like to me, that second unit doesn't have the right amount of scoring level. That's the concern I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to I'm sorry to cut off your point.
No. That's a great point. I was just speaking in terms of handling, but that's a great call. And that's an opportunity for someone like Sasser or Herder or someone else brought up how I think if you scroll up, it might have been Richard. Someone talking about how
Danis doesn't have the assists.
Danis's assist, yeah, because it's I miss when he looked more like a point guard and was breaking down defenses with his drives and then either making a kick or taking an open layup.
Do you know why that was happening? It's because he
Why?
was playing with the starters, with guys who can score the basketball. That's
Yeah.
when those assist numbers were.
But
like,
Javonte can
really up
make
there.
cuts and be open in the corner and knock down shots. You know, there's ways if you have a ball handler to create offense using the pieces that you have. I mean, it does seem like Javonte. Also, when was the last time we saw Stu take a three? I mean, I know it's been a minute since he's played. Did he take a three in this Cavs game? I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either. And
We're gonna need that.
we for sure need that. Especially if he's playing with Ron and Asar at the same time. If they do the 9-2-5 lineup, he's got to be other than the three. And that's fine by me. And I love the Ron and Asar minutes, by the way. I think that's sick. And also, we had to give a shout out to Ron because he's been playing so great.
He really has.
Like,
he really has.
What the clutch factor that Danis has is an intangible in the same way that the momentum shifter factor that Ron has is like an actual thing. It's so incredible. And Michael says the second unit defense is really good, but they can't score in the half court. That's 100% true. So it's like so frustrating because you like watch these massive stops and then they can't get a shot off.
It's such a drag. That's why I mean I'm not beating a dead horse or a overseas horse, but that's why Beasley was so huge for us last season. Was just a bench scorer. You know, now our only volume scorer is in the starting lineup or volume shooter. Excuse me.
And I do want to say, read the Malik Beasley stuff because it's still coming up because the Pistons have been shooting so many bad 3-point games lately. He's never coming back.
Yeah, I'm not bringing that up in a let's see what's going on with that kind of way, or like, is the investigation over? Like, it's a moot point. I'm just saying there were so many defense to offense possessions where,
Right.
that ended in a Malik Beasley shimmy.
Yeah. It is too bad. I would love to see Javonte get more 3-point opportunities because he seems to be the only one who can hit them. And per the Danish Jenkins assist point, you want to hear about his last 10 games with assists?
Not really.
1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, 2, 1, 1, 3.
Let me ask you something though. How's his defense been in those games?
I think he's looked fine on defense. Pretty good.
Which is pretty impressive
Right.
considering he's one of our smallest guys.
Right.
And I'm not saying, but to your point, Richard, I really like it when he's in point guard mode. That's what the archetype as a Schroeder replacement is something that got me really excited. And I think that was the front office's huge bet at the deadline was Danis will step into that role.
Yeah.
And that'll carry us through. But it's a lot of, I understand why critics of national media guys and even people like Bryce have the playoff concerns that they do, because the roster is not really constructed in a very balanced way. It's constructed in a very Pistons way.
It's a clear weakness. And what's frustrating about it is it's a weakness that's solvable without costing this defense as a whole, right? Like, you could probably find somebody who can hit some shots who's not going to be an absolute sieve on defense. Richard says, I'd like to have seen them play with Cade off ball when Cade was struggling at Cleveland. I mean, he was still getting assists. What do you have, like 14 assists that game? He just couldn't hit the shot. Pistons were uncharacteristically horrible under the basket in that game. Like, seriously bad under the basket. I could not believe how many buddies they messed up and how many fumbled passes they have. And per a comment that we had in the chat earlier about how a lot of Caris's turnovers are like going off people's hands because they're not ready for him under the basket. That is true. That seems to be something that like happens a fair share. But like, man, it's super rough. Ibrahim says this love affair JB has with Caris will be our downfall. And like, I'm starting to lean that way at this point, because if he's not going to shoot the ball, if he's not going to score the ball, it's really going to cost this team. Richard says Jenkins point with Cade off to get to Cade looks is what he meant. Gotcha. I'm super down with that. And like, in all honesty, I don't mind Cade and Danis playing together to close games. I actually think that works out really well.
Yeah, I agree with the concerns. As much as I hate to say it, I think I'm worried that JB gets stuck into things roster wise.
Mm-hmm.
And all anyone said, we've got, I mean, for now, we've got the first seed by a pretty healthy margin. The Knicks just lost to the Spurs. The Celtics just lost to the Hornets. They got blown out by the Hornets.
Mm-hmm. Although
I think
Tatum's coming back, baby. He's back.
My fantasy stash is finally paying off. Maybe. But I think this is the time to experiment. We have a little bit of leeway here, as much as I want to win games. And I want to talk about the Spurs game coming up today. But I think this is an opportunity to see, does Herter have anything in the tank? Is Sasser someone that we could actually get minutes, short of injuries or foul trouble? I wouldn't mind. So there have been games where I've felt like Caris being out was addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
So I just really hope that JB, I think he's great in terms of the adjustments that he's made defensively. Sometimes we come out halftime, like in the Magic game, we came out after halftime and just turned it up. And it's really just like flipping a switch. But I really think the perimeter defensive problems, the roster stuff with Caris, and these sluggish starts, they could kill us.
Yeah.
If we open a playoff game down 10, we could just never regain control.
Yeah.
If not for Jalen Tyson fouling Danis in that the second Cavs game, we would have lost to a Hardenless, Donovan Mitchell-less, and it would have been a really bad loss.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been super terrible because we were mostly
It
out.
would have been, like the Bucks, the Giannis-less Bucks loss,
Yeah.
where it's just there's no excuse for that.
And I get that the Pistons are not losing games because of what Caris LeVert is doing. I do think they might be losing games because of what he's not doing. Uh, so that's super rough. Ibrahim says he feels like Rudy Gay on the Raptors back in the day. I just remember Rudy Gay as a great player, so I don't really remember how that all went. I used to love Rudy Gay all the way dating back to his UConn days, but I assume that it's similar. And look, JB, I want to talk to you for a second.
Uh-oh.
I know breaking up with somebody's hard. I've only done it once in my life, and I got back together with her like a week later, and she ended up breaking up with me not too long after that.
Damn.
But it's a hard thing to do, but sometimes it's the right thing to do, and it's the right thing to do for everyone involved. I mean, we're in a tough situation here, but it's just time. It's time to see some other people in the second unit.
There's plenty of bench players in the sea. There's we have options. It's such a hard thing to defend because I think at best Caris has been fine. It's when that's all you can say. Obviously there's more to it than this, and I know the numbers aren't good, but just eye test wise, I feel so much better when Javante checks in, when Ron checks in. These are not perfect players, but I know good things are going to happen with them on the floor, and I just want to trust and not. This has been a Danis issue too, but Caris's shot diet is whack.
Sus.
It's very contested long mid-rangers that sometimes go down, and sometimes he gets hot from three and will knock down, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 4 threes. And when we need it, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Sometimes he can hit those crazy layups too. Like I think part of like what's also frustrating about him is his form looks so crazy. Like the way he contorts his body, it's wild.
There's too many. Sorry, I
was gonna say, but sometimes they go down.
Yeah, we have enough players on this team who play a little out of control. That's why Danis was and has been a calming presence. Sasser has the potential to be an extremely efficient scorer. He looked quite bad in that Cavs. He almost
that was super rough. That really
turnover scared the shit out of me. That backcourt turnover.
He's so good protecting the ball most of the time too. That was wild.
Well, I mean, look, we talk a lot about how Sasser stays ready, and when his number is called, he just gets in and gets hot fast. But maybe I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying maybe it's look, I haven't seen the floor in a minute. You just thrust me into a high pressure situation that's kind of jarring. But I don't know. But at this point, I would be fine sitting Caris for a few games, seeing what Sasser's got, seeing what Herder's got. Maybe don't even play those guys. Maybe just try shortening the rotation a little bit to 9 and just see what that looks like.
Right.
Just try different looks. Cause I hear you with the breakup stuff on JB to CL, just their initials carved in the tree.
Right.
You got, yeah. I also just think like, maybe take a break. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to rush straight to a breakup. We can just take a little breather, see what's out there. Just explore, download an app, see, swipe a little, see how Herder looks.
Go to a mixer.
Yeah, go to a little speed date, just
speed rotation. 30 seconds in for everybody.
Trial by fire. Maybe someone makes an impression. You never know. But I'm loving this analogy. But I am interested in, either shortening the rotation a little bit, giving the other guys more run, giving Danis more run, because you made a big bet on him at the deadline. So we'll see.
And Michael Dump here, 44 in the chat, has been praising Caris's defense, which is fair. He does get stocks. There's no doubt about it. But you know who else gets stocks? Everybody else in the second unit.
The entire team.
Everybody does. Ron and Javante are in the top 5 in steal rate or something like that. Then you got Beef Stew down there. Paul Reed, if he got more minutes, he'd be way up there as well. Like that's it. It's great that everybody does it, but whoever comes in could also do. Sasser could also do that. Sasser gets stocks. Like this happens. So I just want to see what else we have at this point because we have seen enough of what we already have, and we have a problem.
You know, you brought up a really interesting name, and I will raise it, and you can tell me that's not the position we need to worry about, or that's not the issue right now. Paul Reed is a valuable player.
Yeah.
And the fact that he only gets run when Stu and or Duran are in foul trouble or hurt, he was effective for us as effective for us in the playoffs as he could be. Should we be doing a little Danis Ron Javante Reed Stu? Like, should we? I mean, just in terms of having, he can actually knock down shots too.
Having both him and Stu on the floor at the same time because they can both technically hit the three is interesting.
He also makes good decisions, I feel,
and he's scoring.
He's good around the rim. He gets to the line. Honestly, just I hadn't thought about that prior to you just bringing up his name. I know he doesn't do what Caris does, but he kind of does. He does in different ways. And if we get bigger, is that
Ibrahim says,
let's go, Ibrahim. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think we did it. We solved it. We've got a new. I think Paul Reed is a really interesting option, and
I'm with you guys. I hadn't even considered this, and I think that's maybe a great idea. And plus, reward him. He's been playing super great.
He's earned it.
He's been playing super great. Why not? Why not see what it's like? B-ball Paul can do it all. And to Michael says that Danis and Sasser is just too small, even though he likes both of them. Show me something other than height where they look too small in the court because I'm not seeing it, especially for the second unit. It's not like they're getting bullied. It's not like they're giving up a ton of stuff. They're causing turnovers and they're scoring points and they're not getting owned. So I get theoretically they're too small. I just don't buy it as far as how it's actually gone out. But let's move on from the complaints about the key. Paul and Richard Danforth says Paul Loki has a bag too. That's super true. It's super true.
There's nothing I love more than someone giving Paul Reed space and him planting his feet and just knocking it down. Like whether it's an elbow jumper or a three, he is a willing shooter.
Can I see you and raise you, Paul Reed, between the legs, behind the back, and drive? Because that's something I love to see. I kind of love this idea. I'm so moved by this. And now I think the social media agenda needs to change for what we should do as far as the team goes. Someone get JB on the horn right now. Not the horn that was on for 12 minutes straight at LCA. Because, man, that poor tech guy that kept showing on the screen, and the other guy was like, "This man is losing his mind over here."
That's so helpful. That is so helpful to put that, man. There have been some shenanigans at LCA lately. We saw someone do blow off a Little Caesars pizza box. Shout out in the chat if you saw that dude straight up.
It was not even like subtle. It was so
the cameraman or woman, whoever pointed the camera right then is diabolical. That was insane. Harry and I were just messaging each other, and it was like, "Did you just see that?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Oh yeah,
it's insane.
There's a clip of it on Reddit. So if you go on the Pistons
in the
Reddit,
Cavs thread on the Cavs, it was the Cavs.
Oh, it was the Cavs thread. Okay, you'll be able to find. It's also on our Blue Sky. If you go to our Blue Sky, oobh.bluesky.social,
silly
whatever,
stuff.
It's on there. It's what the funniest part about it to me. There's so many funny parts is how much the kid doing it looks like Tom Gores.
It is not. I looked up. I googled Tom Gores' family after that, but I did, and I don't believe there's any immediate relationship.
No. It's the bastard son of Tom Gores, born on a pizza box, doing blow.
Oh man, I'm here for this lore.
Pistons fan fiction.
His illegitimate Coke child. I love that.
Oh my God, what a story. Write it up. We used to work in we work in Hollywood. Some of us used to work in it, but you still work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
We can make this sort of. You do. Don't even say sort of. I'm not to out you or anything like that, but you're in the biz.
Sure.
And you guys are also in the biz of, giving a like
Liking,
and a
subscribing. You're
subscription.
in that business. And look, I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat right now is like and subscribe. But if you got a friend who thinks like you do, tell them we're trying to get to 200.
And
I
then
want to say
300.
then 300, but
Mhm.
first 200. I love the little counter you made, Harry. I don't know if I've complimented that, but
Thank you. Yes.
really good.
Stream
Lower
element shout out.
lower third flex.
Yeah, it's a good one. The colors match. It's honestly just like a little template. I can't take credit for it,
Don't reveal
really.
trade secrets. No one cares about the plugins. Nobody cares about
Well, I got them going on. But all this negative talk about the Pistons and what they could do, one thing that we haven't discussed is how awesome Tobias Harris has been in the last couple of games,
Oh,
dude. Like
thank God.
19 points, 21 points, that junk against San Antonio on top of it, the Unk poster, like this dude has
Nasty.
been balling out. That low post fade mid-range jump shot or whatever is the most signature old man move that there is, and he's knocking it down like no one's business. He's playing some okay defense. I mean, he's still getting beat off the dribble like a fair share. That's my big slight with Tobias Harris, I would say. But if he wasn't scoring on this team, I don't know where we'd be right now. How have you felt about Uncle T?
It's been great, and the fact that he hasn't broken 20 a whole lot of times this season either. And look, I understand he's very much the third option at this point, but you want a guy who can do that in your third option spot. When it works, I love it. When it doesn't work, I'm like, this is slowing down the offense. It's a lot of people standing around. But you know what? He's gotten really good at the defense has been good. And even in I forget which game it might have been. The Spurs wasn't like a terribly high scoring game for him, was it?
No, in that Spurs
But he had
game,
5 steals, I think. There was a game where he didn't score that well, but he had 5 steals. So I like him contributing in other ways. I forget which game that was. It might have been San Antonio. It does seem like he loves to just give it to his former teams, whether it's the Sixers or the Magic. He really goes hard on those revenge games.
mhm.
But yeah, I like it when it works, and just there are a lot of late game situations where we need a bucket or we need someone who can get to the line. And I would say if we have anyone who kind of knows how to draw a foul on this team, it's Tobias.
It's him.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes as a known foul baiter hater, I see it and I'm like, "Ugh, that's a little.
Listen, you can hate the game, but if you ain't playing it, you ain't winning.
Well, we need someone. We
That's
need
what I'm
someone who
saying.
can do it. Like everyone knows, Cade has to protect his ethical hooper reputation, but has has immortalized in the pages of GQ. But yeah, it's really nice that he can get to the line, create shots, even if it literally stops everything. But he passes out of it lately. He's been passing out of the post to that's some of the best Asar cuts, by
Yes.
the way, are those finds when he's backing down and just waits for an opportunity to present itself. So I love that. I,
Because the
yeah.
doubles come. They
Yes.
always come because they know that if it's a single, he's getting the bucket. So they send the double. And now it seems like lately Tobias has been like, I see the double coming and Asar is also coming. I'm hitting that body. And
Hmm.
it's worked out phenomenally. Like the remember all of last year and the year before and early this year, all the discussion about we can't play Duran and Asar together because those two guys can't stretch the floor. That has not been an issue for a moment. As far as the topic of conversation, as far as like those two being on the floor together, it's not like they're getting jammed. This offense is still like somewhat effective. It's still a top 10 offense in the league. It's just it's you have to find your way around it. Just because it's not the way that everyone's familiar with doesn't mean there isn't a way. I like that they looked for a solution, found a solution, and are making do with it. Ibrahim says Uncle T is dope. Honest opinion, he'd love him as the sixth man and swap Stewart into the starting five. The offense is too slow to start the game. Tobias frying second units in late game situations would be ideal. I maybe I don't know. Like, I also like Stu coming off the bench and just like being like, hey, the defense is not dead out here.
Yeah, I in the games where Tobias has sat, I've actually really liked how Stu looked starting. But I am concerned about Duran and Stu both getting into foul trouble early, because so much of what's nice about Stu coming off the bench is sometimes it gives Duran a little relief there. And they're both handsy. They're both aggressive. It's what we like about them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a concern. But I'm down to try stuff like this. As you know, I mean, it sounds like we're all game for a little more Paul Reed action. And we've talked too about next season, the idea of Tobias coming off the bench on a cheaper contract. I mean, some of us sounds like Harry's okay potentially with him starting next year. I don't know.
So let me ask you this. Now that we've brought up,
I didn't
like,
mean to call you out here.
No, that's fine. And like, again, it's not my ideal situation. It's just like, it wouldn't be the end of the world to me. If the starting five is Cade, Duncan, I guess, at this point, Asar, Beef Stew, Jalen Duran, can the second unit be Danis, Javante Green, Ron, Tobias Harris, Paul Reed? Does that work?
Isn't that what Ibrahim was sort of saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
I think that's not bad.
Wait, you mean next year?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that makes sense for the playoffs. And if that works in the playoffs, that's a different discussion. I would say that, and I know you're not talking about Tobias being the starting four next year in that scenario, but I think if Duncan and Tobias are starting on this team or playing as many minutes as they are now next season, that will be the end of the world for me.
Yeah,
that is not the kind of moves and progress I think need to be made at this point.
No.
I will say, I was talking to some people because, I want to offer Peyton Watson more money than the Denver Nuggets can. And by the way, I know you've talked about how that means you miss out on a lot of the rest of free agency. This unrestricted free agency class sucks.
It doesn't matter. So it sucks, and then you lose out on the best ones that suck, and the other buyout players. Like, so you're getting the slimmest pickings of the slim pickings.
I mean, short of like Rui Hachimura, nobody really makes sense, who I wouldn't hate starting at the 4 just because he is so efficient and fine on defense. But I really think we need to try and get a real 4. And I love Stu, but I just love him as the bench big.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the sake of the playoffs, I'm open to that.
Who said that in the chat? Was it Dompier? Yeah, Michael Dompier said he's so good at the 5. That's why we want to keep him in the 5. That's very fair. It's super fair. And then Richard DM4 wants us to quickly change subject here. How about Duran suddenly becoming a block threat since he got back? Yeah, Duran
Duran in general has just been a monster.
Every element of his game, passing aside, has gotten better. But like the passing at the expense of his scoring, okay, go off. It's so awesome that now he's like a defensive threat on the team. It's so pretty cool. And OGU, unnamed YouTube user, shout out to him, was bringing up that he doesn't want the Sasser. He thinks it should be Paul Reed. That would be better. That run it back city is not okay with him unless they win the championship. There has to be a trade this offseason. I think a trade is more likely than an RFA situation. Maybe an RFA trade is the situation. Like, I could see that possibly happening with Peyton Watson if you do a sign and trade for him and give up something to get him. If Denver's not going to pay him that money, but we'll know even better how that situation is going to look. Not specifically that one, but just how RFA stuff looks with one of our guests coming up in, was it 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks?
Hint.
Yeah, not to give up too much, but we'll have a pretty good.
Yeah, I don't want to like get too deep into it, but I will say that I was talking to some people last night, and just based on the roster we had, because you don't trade Cade, Stu, Asar, Duran. If we do make a move, it would have to be Ron.
They're not trading him.
Well, I'm just saying, if you wanted to do a trade in the offseason for any sort of significant piece, Ron would have to be a part of that deal.
It depends on like what sort of significant piece we're talking about. The only way that would be the case is if it's a number 2. And from all the indications that have been rumored as far as how Trajan feels about this roster, Ron is close to being untouchable. And I get it, because Look at how
If
they're
you want a Trey Murphy, it's going to cost you a Ron.
then they're not getting Trey Murphy straight up.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
that's just how it would go. Because one, look at what is Trajan value, availability,
In defense,
and defense. Who's better at both?
Ron.
Who's older?
Trey Murphy is.
Right. Who already knows this team's concept? Ron. On top of that, look at the piece that Omari Sankofa II wrote for Freep just recently on how they're utilizing Ron Holland and how they're letting him shoot the three nonstop. Why are they doing that?
It's almost like they're grooming him to be a number 2 or something.
See
I love that, and I really hope he steps into that. I'm not advocating for trading Ron. I'm just saying we don't have, unless, as someone put in here, at that point Caris will be expiring, so you could just attach picks to Caris, and
right.
I would be here for that. I care more about I care less about picks than I do our young players. And to be clear, I have zero interest in trading Ron.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ron, and good things happen when he's on the floor, and he's already got these, we talk about it all the time, but just these signature moves that you can expect when he's on the court. A lot of them are defensive oriented, whether it's just snatching the ball out of someone's hand, forcing offensive fouls on screens, just like 200% effort all the time. Just really exciting young player. So yeah, I think the move would then be, that's a good point. So just attaching draft capital to expiring contracts.
There's a third way to do it too, and that's by taking on a bad contract along with that player.
Sure.
So there are means to get this done. It's just a question of how and what. And why would it be? It's not like Duncan Robinson's an untradeable player. Duncan Robinson's an incredible player on a good contract. Right?
Which will be expiring.
It's not expiring. It's only $2 million guaranteed next year, and then the year after that, there's no guarantee.
Option. It's an option, yeah.
So
that's very appealing to teams, like a Magic or something,
right? who can use, and Duncan's been great on this team, and I don't want to trade him necessarily either. It's just I think the chance of them trading Ron is so low. Ron Solo. That's how I would refer to it. And I don't even like Star Wars.
Okay, OG is saying I reviewed a potential plan with Bryce that you could Bryce Simon.
Motor City Hoops. Shout out.
You could easily clear cap space and trade for a 35 to $40 million
player and bring back Tobias.
But what contracts would be going out for that?
That's
we don't need to get too in the weeds. I'm just curious. I'm not challenging. I'm just, there's a lot about, cap and things like that. And again, we'll get into this in a couple of weeks, because that's not something I know well, but that's something someone else knows really well. And, maybe we'll have him or her on the podcast. So we'll see. All right. But, tell me if you want to go elsewhere, but I was thinking we were talking about Duren and just how dominant he's been. How important is that going to be in a couple hours?
Huge. And you know what? He was good in that game too. It's so crazy to me that part of the narrative in that last San Antonio game was the Pistons bigs didn't have the answer for Wembanyama. Wembanyama did not have a good game. He had a good quarter. And he was defensively altering for most of the part. He definitely deterred people and he changed the game plan. I think Detroit realized what the effective gameplay was. New York exposed them for doing that somewhat recently as well. Detroit has those tools to take advantage of it. Duren put up 24 and 14, I think, against the Spurs last time they played. Paul Reed is the backup, so that's a little tough because Paul Reed is 9. Stu is even shorter, but Stu's a brick house, dog. So Duren versus San Antonio Spurs really figured it out in the fourth quarter. He did, but it wasn't bad all game. He was getting there and he was playing through his body. He had a couple of huge moments against him. I think Wemby is a great player, without a doubt, one of the best players in the NBA. I do think he's movable. If you if you get Wemby in the weak side, that's bad. If you go through Wemby, you have a shot. I mean, K took him down with the shoulder, dude. It's when you're that tall, you can fall. So I'm eager to see how it'll play out. Do you think Dern will have as good a game this time as he did last time?
I think he's going to have a better game because I think, as everyone's sort of saying, he figured it out. He knows what he has to do. And now that we have that game plan from Tip, I think it's going to be huge. I also think this is maybe the most important game of the regular season thus far.
Yeah.
I just the amount of attention and narratives that spun out of the last game. And look, whether you think Wemby had a great game or not, it's kind of like Cade, where even when the shot's not falling, they're gonna find ways to be effective. With Wemby, it's on defense. With Cade, it's defense and passing.
Mm-hmm.
He had 14 assists in that game. So I respect players where when the offense isn't offensing, they are still being effective in other ways, or like when the scoring isn't working, they're still effective in other ways. So it's annoying that Cade doesn't get as much love for that on a national scale, but I get it. Like it's really hard for the national media to embrace Cade because I don't think the league knows what it's doing. I think they are chasing trends in terms of I was talking to my friends about this last night, non-Pistons fans, friends, that they're still clinging to the LeBron and Curry. And in terms of the young guys, it's Ant and it's Wemby as far as the guys they want to hand the keys to. Cade is going to have to dethrone one or both of these guys or Shea.
It's because in Wemby's case, he's visually stunning, right? Like it's the most insane thing to watch.
Unprecedented.
Like you've never seen anything like it.
He's also international.
Exactly.
And there's a like just on a like I really think Adam Silver is just very bottom line oriented, and I think he's just thinking about maximizing money and eyeballs and influence. Not everybody's gonna just draw an international crowd to an American like Curry did.
Yes.
Where just the play style and the way it looks is just so unbelievable. But Wemby is as close to that as we have.
And for as physically like as physically visually stimulating as Wemby is,
and it's an alien.
And is that as far as the things he says, the way he like talks and interacts with people, and his highlight dunks, like the explosive stuff
and efficiency.
We're talking about two highlights. They're both good players. They're both good players, but they're also
and as Silver said, this is a highlights based sport, as we all know.
Exactly.
It's that's how we all consume this, right? Is just on reels.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Reels, and then we talk about it on Threads as well. So it's all IG.
All hail Zuck. All hail.
But I get that it's like a scoring-based league and it's an offensive-based league. One thing that I think flew under the radar, I saw this on the broadcast a couple of games ago. Cade generates the third most points in the league behind Jokic and Luka, and that's it. That's more points generated than Shea. That's more points generated than Ant. He's already scoring more than Wemby is. Like, if scoring matters that much, without getting free throws, while also being like your team's only player, that should account for something. I'm not saying that Cade should be the MVP, but if he does end up winning it, that matters a little bit to me. Like, I think he's a very warranted MVP candidate. I don't think he's going to win it, but I do think there's a good case for him to get it. And the other thing I want to say is because a lot of people are putting Jokic ahead of him in the MVP, and they're like, oh, just because he's not there. Jokic is on a team that's almost in the play-in right now. He's on the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Is that really where you want your MVP to come from? I get that they've had injuries, but come on.
Does winning mean nothing?
If there was an Offensive Player of the Year award, sure. But there isn't. The defense is bad. The team isn't winning that many games. It's something. Okay, so I want to go to two things. One, back to OG unnamed YouTube user says you were clearing cap space by salary dumping guys and renouncing all the cap holds you have beside Duren. That's how you clear up the space, and you don't have to do trades that are 1-for-1. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The only reason you have to do that is if you're like, and by 1-for-1, I mean like salary matching, and that's depending on the apron stuff. And then Ibrahim said Duren's ceiling is Embiid. What do you think of that, Mickey?
I mean, I love that. I love that. We've talked about the idea of, oh my God, in that one game, I forget which one was it where he just took that free throw line jumper. Like he just got a little bit of space and took that jumper. If he can start, we talked about him starting to space, and it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. Just because we haven't seen him do it. Hey, I think he's taken a 3 all season.
I think 1-3 this season. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just such a specific player, and so much of what Embiid has done kind of since he's been in the league is so different from how Duren operates. I want it to be true. Like that would be insane. What do you think about it, Harry?
I don't think it's possible. I don't think he's capable of MVP level basketball, and I don't think he's capable of Defensive Player of the Year level basketball. And I think Embiid was achieved. I know he achieved MVP. I'm not sure if he got Defensive Player of the Year. He might have. It's just a little different. But I would love for him to approach him.
It's hard to imagine him being any sort of perimeter player.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to imagine him popping instead of rim running. Like it's. I know Brook Lopez didn't always shoot threes. Bam didn't always shoot threes. It's not impossible. I have no problem. He practices it.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it. We've heard from Omari. Like we know it's not as though he doesn't take 3-pointers, and I'm sure we'll see some fun off-season footage of him draining like 5 in a row or something in a corner. But I think even if he were to look at Stu, where they don't have the same role, but look at how we know Stu can space, and he still takes max 3 to 4 a game.
He hit that one where he took like 8, but like that was crazy.
Yeah.
Michael Dompier says Duren seems more like Weber or Maury Stoudemire than Embiid, and Ampersand says I would love to smoke with Ant. That would be a blast.
Yeah, I wonder if Ant smokes. There was I forget if it was one of the docs. Oh, it was the Olympic doc. I don't think he drinks or doesn't drink during. I just but someone brought up just how like charismatic and funny he is. Ibrahim. He really is. Like he's hilarious and good to put on camera. But that's also has a potential to blow up in the league's face.
Yeah, it does a little bit. And also, I'm not gonna name any names, but Rudy Gobert has never called out Cade Cunningham for quitting on his team.
I didn't know he did that with Ant.
It wasn't by name or anything. He's like the coach needs to hold some guys accountable and pull them when they're not.
Well, maybe he means Bones Highland.
Maybe that's what
it could be. It could be anyone.
He's got beef with Bones. He's got Bones.
Yeah. Could be anybody.
Who knows who he's talking about out there. So that's just all there is to it. Not to get too derailed.
Mike Conley. He's talking about Mike Conley.
He's calling out Mike Conley's the AAR.
The ghost of Mike Conley.
Yeah. All right. I do want to get into this final segment. And this final segment isn't so much about the Pistons per se. It's tangentially related. But the Pistons aren't involved in either of these two scandals going around the NBA right now. Prime Antonio McDyess for Durant, that is a great that's a great comparison. And I think Durant actually has like maybe a higher ceiling, but that's such a good comparison. Nice job, OG, killing it with that. If you guys don't know who Antonio McDyess is, you got to go back and watch some highlights. The dude was a fucking baller. Okay, on to this final segment. The two scandals or scourges of the NBA right now.
And it couldn't be gambling. It could never be gambling.
Although, shout out to Fred VanVleet for calling out the gambling situation for being.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. It's so good of him to say. He said it's not even like generating money for the players, and like it's just absolute trash, and it's causing more problems. So good for FEV for saying that. I think the gambling scandal is so horrible, and I'm super sick of seeing commercials for it all over streaming. Chuck Nevitt calling ampersand. Come on, dog. The two scandals going throughout the NBA are, of course, the NBA now punishing tanking being the scourge of the NBA community. And the other, this is more talked about in the fan base community, is about players and their offensive flailing and flopping for fouls. Mickey, do you have a take on which you think is more of a concern? The NBA seems to have a take on it, but do you personally have a take on it?
I'll be really quick because I think we talk about these things quite a bit, and some of them both recently. With tanking, when teams legitimately suck, like the Wizards or the Nets, and like how the Pistons did when they tanked, I don't care. When you have good players that you are purposefully sitting, like the Pacers and the Jazz, I think it's shitty. And I think it's gaming the system. And I think flopping is also gaming the system. But I think the real blame lies with the refs and the media a little bit, because they really call players like, Doris. Some people have started to call out Shea,
Mhm.
but everyone calls it savvy and smart
Yeah.
and gamesmanship. And we prefer to just post memes of Magikarp.
The Magikarp flop. Shout out. Yeah, I bring up the flopping because last night featured a game of two of our most loathed floppers. And in all honesty, Shea does flop more than Brunson does. Not to couple those guys out by name, but whatever. You do it, you do the thing. I I think you guys have heard my take on taking. I don't think it's like that big a deal, and I think teams need to do it in order to get out of the throes of the basement. So it's like a must have. And I actually think the players flopping and flailing is worse. It's worse to watch. It slows the game down. It's infuriating to see as a fan and infuriating to reward. And I think the NBA is never going to do anything about it. They're never going to punish it at all, and I think they love it. Here's what I liken to. My take is that punishing offensive players like their stars flailing and drawing the fouls, that would be like this government that we're currently under taxing the billionaire class. They're not going to do it. They're not going to tax their like benefactors their most loved class, right? Make the rich richer, give Shea more points, bring up his shooting percentage, give these guys opportunities to win games and look like offensive stars. The working class teams, the low end guys like the Wizard, tax the hell out of them. You can't get to the top like us. We had this way. That's how we got to the top, but now we're going to take that away. That is the American dream gone. I think it's a much worse skirt, and I think it's way worse for the league that we're supporting this flail and trying to do away with the only thing that can make bad teams good again. I think it's bad for the fan base because if you're a fan base of a bad team, you got no chance of ever getting better. If like you're barred from more chances at getting the number one overall pick. And if your team is good and you have a star and you keep getting rewarded for doing this bullshit, you're never going to get worse.
I agree. And I do think flailing and flopping is worse but I just think both of these things call into question the integrity of the game in terms of, is this rigged? Is there a thumb on the scale here? Because with flopping, there at best, the refereeing is uneven. We saw that in the playoffs versus the Knicks, where maybe the Knicks get a bunch of calls in the first half, and then they're like, "Oh, you know what? We really gave them a bunch of calls. Let's give the Pistons a bunch." And then now both fan bases are pissed,
Yeah.
and the game is 3.5 hours, and just whistle, 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 and it's no fun. And then people also have concerns about the lottery, and if the Cooper Flag pick was rigged, so I there's, as again, between the gambling stuff, there's already so much doubt as to how much of this is actually fair and just basketball playing out. So I think it sucks. I don't know why the only flop technical that exists is on the defensive end. I want to see it on the offensive end,
There
because I think
technically
that actually happens more.
there technically was one, but it never gets called. I think it is so wild. OG hosts the take because it's exactly his take. It's insane to me. I just want to add like a couple more things onto it, especially about like the offensive one. People say you can't call the offensive flop because that's just like the referee using their judgment, and like who's to say if it's true or not. Every friggin' foul is the referee's judgment because almost every call can go one way, like the offhand stuff, the bump into stuff, all that is a
The
judgment call.
extension, the is the hand part of the ball? You know, we've seen these things go both ways so many times, and I sometimes we challenge stuff, and I'm like, we're not gonna win that, and you know, mostly we don't, but sometimes we do, and I'm like, all right,
Did you know we've won
okay.
the second most challenges in the NBA?
That is one of the biggest eye test disparities
That's so crazy.
of the game, because sometimes I feel a certain way watching things, and that's just not how the numbers
Mhm.
turn out. But that is hilarious to
That's
hear.
so
But we
crazy.
probably what's attempts where we must be
We
high
gotta
on
be number
attempts.
1. Yeah, we gotta be I mean, we threw a challenge in the All-Star game. Like, that's crazy.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah. The
like
most JB thing ever. Identity shit, dude. That's identity shit.
it's really wild. And, like, you're right about, like, the calls in that Cleveland game. I don't wanna complain, like, too much about the refereeing, but there was a call that they challenged against Keon Ellis, where Keon Ellis didn't foul Dern on the
Block.
ball, but he had his hand on his back, and that's why Dern fell, but they just said, "Oh, he didn't make legal contact." Same call happened against Cade. They challenged it, and they said his hand was on his back, so it's a foul. So it's like, what what are we talking about here? And when it comes to those offensive fouls, the offensive flops, I think it should be a technical foul. Like, straight up. You do that flop, technical foul. And you can challenge it if you want to, but chances are you're going to lose that foul, because if it's a technical, it's really going to deter people from doing it. The same way that, like, the landing zone is like a flagrant deters people from coming into the landing zone. I don't know if it's really doing that or not, but, like, the theory is that it's going to stop doing it. Give people a technical, throw them out if they do it too many times. It's just absolutely insane. And the reason I think it's worse watching than tanking is because when you put in the other players when you're tanking, at least those players are still NBA level players and they're trying hard. They're trying to win those games. So yeah, they're not as talented, but you're still getting 100% effort from the players. That's, to me, it's the big difference between the two.
Yeah. I agree. I the tanking thing is secondary to me, but I think it all just contributes to this, you know, suspicious, like, paranoia that everybody has of just this underlying vibe of shit's rigged.
I think part of it is, like, the national media's yeah, I do agree. Like, and I think because you come up with conspiracy theories, when, like, there are hints at it and when, like, there's no real answer for why things are happening the way that they're happening. And I think another part of the reason that the tanking is so much more of a concern is because the national media won't shut the hell up about it. Like, these analysts are like, "All these players, I don't know their names." And it's like, okay, well, then do more research, like, look more into it and find out more about these guys, just because we're not talking about your favorite players. Whereas the flailing thing gives them more reason to talk about their favorite players on a regular basis. It feels so Hunger Gamesian to me, as like the what District One talking about District One. It drives me nuts, man. It absolutely drives me nuts. So shout
Yeah.
out to our boy Cadenus Everdeen, breaking his way all the way to the front.
God, he's got to work on his distance shooting with that bow. I'll tell you that
He
much.
sure does. He's more of a Peter Millar, coming into that. Unnamed YouTube user says, "My question to people who complain about tanking is, how many games do you start watching and a team tanks so you turn it off? The answer will always be 0 to 1. So, huge problem." And his theory is, if you review every play, every game, the fact that the fine of obvious flops on both ends and a certain number of flops fines as a suspension, I think that's fine too. Richard DM for it. Shout out to you. DraftKings and FanDuel breathing down Silver's neck. That's the only reason tanking is a big concern. It If that is a problem,
Isn't it not even losing the betting apps money? I'm just regurgitating something I heard, so I'm not fact check me, tell me I'm wrong. I had heard that it's not even a big issue for them. I feel like it's almost more of a, not to like tinfoil hat it, but I think it's more of, as you're saying, Harry, we have this like distraction problem to focus on, so you don't worry about the flopping and all the other things that they're the gambling and that sort of stuff, of like, just worry about tanking and don't worry about all that other stuff that we just mentioned.
yeah. And if Gabe flopped, he'd be a 35-point game scorer. But it's true. Like, if you flop, and he'd be a more efficient scorer. Like, it's just
Yeah.
stupid. So what do you
Well,
want?
to quote Cade in GQ, I can't sell a foul for nothing.
Yeah, with a little smile on your face.
And also to quote Cade from GQ, I can sing like a lady I can sing like Whitney.
Whitney. I can sing like Whitney. That's right. Oh, man. Well, we got
I don't usually do a double take at a pull quote, but my God. What?
See,
What?
that's why you should want to smoke with Cade and not with Ant, because
Yes.
you get that sort of stuff
Yeah.
coming out.
And we know Cade Burns. We know.
Mm-hmm. We do. I don't want. We got to talk more on the Pistons musical talents in our next
Family band.
show.
Yeah.
That'll be a little teaser for the next one. But I mean, we've been going at this episode for a pretty long time, y'all. Thank you for joining us. It's such like a weird time in the day. On top of it, you're so great. The chat.
We didn't know. We didn't know if anyone would be available or down. We had to improvise a little bit here, but it's so much fun, and you guys breathe life into the show for sure.
Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for being here with us. We'll be back next week. Actually, let me pull up the calendar.
Is it Saturday or are we doing Thursday next week?
I can't. Oh yeah, that's right. So thanks for that reminder.
No problem. Fact check me.
But for most of the month for March, because there's so many games on Thursday, we're going to be on Saturdays. So yes, next week we're going to be on Saturday with special guest Kelly Dwyer. If you're not following Kelly Dwyer, great writer, KD on Hoops, awesome newsletter. He's incredible talent. He's written some cool stuff about Detroit. He's a Chicago fan, I believe. But like, if you're into basketball writing, that's not like, here are the stats and here is how the game went. Like, you're just regular reporting, broadcasting stuff, and you're into like actual creative prose. He's one of the top. He's an incredible guy. Get on it. And then we got a couple more guests after that. We'll talk about them later as time approaches. But until then, like, let's enjoy this Pistons San Antonio game. Potential finals matchup, right? Yeah. Would be the dream against the two reigning conference players of the month right now in Victor Wembanyama and in Cade Cunningham. And we're going to end the show the same way we always do, which is by saying OOBH, which is the acronym for Order of the Blazing Horse, aloud, because that's how Horse would say it anyway. So
it certainly is.
I've been Harry.
And I'm Mickey.